Hey guys, this is Anna here, and here is the Instant Pot 101 for you guys. Got a bunch of inquiries about the Instant Pot. I know it could be super intimidating, but honestly, once you do it correctly, it's pretty phenomenal. It is a one-stop shop, does all these things pretty much to the T for yourself, but definitely I'm here to help you because I've made a bunch of mistakes and I don't want you to do that, because if you make a mistake, sometimes you don't want to go back to it. So let's do this. Right now it's in lock position. It's on off, but I'm gonna unlock it. This is the steam release. There is a sealing or venting, and the venting is generally just for making yogurt, and we will talk about that in later episodes. But the sealing is generally what you're gonna have it on the whole entire time, and it's loose. Just know it's not broken, it's just kind of the way it's made. Super easy to come off like so. You can clean it on the regular, which I definitely recommend, but it is loose, normal. This is the float valve. And whenever you have your ingredients in and everything's locked and ready to go, you're gonna hear a s or a s, and that's normal. You're gonna hear that until it comes all the way to the top and then it just stops. That's when it reached complete pressurization, and it originally says on while it's going to that point, and then it will start the countdown of whatever minutes or hours you put on for whatever you're cooking in there, and it will go to that and it will start the countdown. So once the valve hits to the top and you don't hear that noise, ready to go. All right, so this is called the sealant ring. And this is really important in the process of the Instant Pot, just like everything else I showed you. This is silicone, really easy to wash. But what you gotta do is you have to make sure it's secure in there. So I just press it down pretty tightly. Voila. You want it really secure in there, and you can pretty much like bring it around a little bit in a ring. Like that. But if it's out like this, it is not actually secured. So whatever you're cooking will not pressurize. This is what's helping the pressurization. And another thing I have definitely done is not even put the sealant ring on and put it on, and all you see is steam coming out. Know that it's not gonna cook, and I've done it before. So you always want to check to make sure that the sealant ring is in there and correctly put in, like so. And then you're pretty much ready to put it on. Oh, one other thing. This is their silicone cap, and sometimes food can get stuck in here because, you know, rice, soups, whenever you're releasing it with the steam, things can get caught up in there. And this cap is very easy to take off. You just take it off, you can wash it, and you can wash this as well. And you can just see that there is nothing in there. And then you could just put it back in like so, hold the bottom, and then you put the cap back on like that. But you don't have to do it all the time. It's just sometimes that might be a reason why it's not steaming or, pressurizing the way you want it to. So the sealant incorrectly, make sure that's in there. You do not lose that, otherwise you're kind of screwed. Other part of this is called the inner pot. The inner pot is stainless steel. It's great. It holds up to 4 liters. There's a max line. Do not go over that water line at all. And this is called the inner pot. Now the inner pot can be washed in the dishwasher. It can be washed by hand, but just know that whenever you're putting it back into the base, that you do not want any crevice of it to be wet, because if you put it on the burner itself, it could ruin it. So you always want to make sure it's completely dry before putting it back in. Really important. And then you want to make sure that it's on seal. And when you put it on, there are 2 arrows, and that's the way you can see how to put on, because sometimes you go, it's just really tricky to put on. So that is the way. And then you'll hear that noise, ready to go. Lots of buttons, I know, but it becomes really easy once you understand what each one does and how to do it. Every button has a internal temperature, for example, for rice or chicken or meat, so it's not going to undercook anything or overcook it. The main button that I use a lot and what you may use is the pressure, whether it be low or high. And how to start the pressure is you always press manual. And from manual, you're gonna press pressure if you want it a low, which it is on right now in the red, or you press pressure again and it goes to high pressure. And from here, these are going to reduce the time or increase the time. So this is what all that is the time button. And if you want to go up to 200, what you do is you just go backwards, so you don't have to be holding it forever. That's a little trick. And then for soups, I can just hit it to show you. It's 30 minutes, generally whatever soup you're making. If you're making a sweet potato soup, even hearty soups, it will cook very quickly. Meats the same way, 35 minutes. But if you want to do a chuck roast or anything that's really slow, you can always press slow cooker, or you can hit manual and do pressure yourself. I just did a chuck roast. I did it for about 60 minutes on high pressure, but you always want to cover your meats with liquid, but don't ever go over the max line. And one of my favorite buttons is a saute button. The saute button, you actually have to keep the lid off, and you just press saute, and in about 5 minutes, it will actually reach the heating point that it needs to be. And from there, you can put some oil in, like you're using a regular frying pan. You just throw some onions in there. You can then throw your carrots, just saute everything. And then from there, you would turn it off once you're done sauteing everything you need. And then you can make it into a soup, you can make it into a stew, so you're not dirtying other dishes. It's just reducing the pressure right now. Rice, same thing, has different time frames depending on what kind of rice, so you always want to look that up to see. And then, of course, yogurt. That's the other one where you're going to be using a venting, or even the top can be off. But these are the two buttons that you always want the top off. Well, definitely top off here, and or venting, either or. And then steaming is another great one. You can throw your broccoli, your carrots, and that will be about a 10-minute time frame. One other little hack for you guys is that if you don't want the sound once your food is finished, you can always press this. Well, the plus button is for sound on, but if you want to have your sound off, ta-da. And there you have it. So whenever you're finished with what you're making, there is the option for natural release, and natural release is that it releases on its own, that you're not going to quick release it yourself, which means that you're going to move the steam button. So if you're gonna do a natural release, that means it's like a soup, or if it's, a meat that's been cooking for a while and it doesn't matter about the heat, that's fine. But if you're doing rice, sometimes you want to do like a release for about 10 minutes and then you want to do a quick release because you don't want to cook too long and get all mushy. But if you are going to do a quick release for certain ingredients, a little tip to do is that you can put a little cloth over there and then press that, and you always want to get it away from your cabinets. If you have a window you can open, that's great, but know that sometimes it can steam out little particles, but putting a towel over will definitely reduce that, and also just not get everywhere. So that is a great option to do, so you don't hurt or steam yourself. But yeah, you can just put it on there and then you do the quick release, just depending on what you're making. One other thing I wanted to point out is with the base of the Instant Pot for cleaning, you want to use a damp rag or a spray bottle, but you don't want to submerge it in water because there is an electrical outlet. So always just kind of wash it with a damp washcloth, and then you can always clean the top. You can submerge that and the inner pot itself, just not the base. Well, I just want to thank you all so much for joining the Instant Pot 101 class. And if you guys have any other recipes that you want for the Instant Pot or for gluten-free cooking, please put in the comments below. Bye.